Hey there, it's Friday night and we're just getting ready for brew day tomorrow. We're going to be making the White House Honey Ale. And so tonight, I'm just boiling up some top-off water. We're going to use this top-off water after we brew our wort tomorrow. We're going to use it to fill up to 5 gallons once our wort is made. And we're going to transfer it tonight into this holding bucket that's already been pre-sanitized. Hey there, it's Damien and Jesse from Adelphi Brewing, and today we're going to be making a new batch of beer. We're going to be doing the White House Honey Ale from Northern Brewer, and so let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our grains in our muslin bag and get ready for steeping. And then we're going to tie a little knot at the top, and this is what's going to go in our boiling pot to steep. Okay, so we have our muslin bag with the grain suspended in our water, and we're going to bring this up to temperature to about 170 degrees or 20 minutes, whichever comes first. We'll see in a little bit. All right, so our water has reached 170 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and remove our grains, being very careful not to squeeze the bag. And then once this is done, we're going to continue to let this come up to a boil, and that's when we'll add our extracts. All right, so our wort has reached the boiling temperature, so Jesse's going to pull it off the heat now, and then we're going to go ahead and add our extracts. At that point, we will return it to the heat and continue a 60-minute boil. All right, so we're adding our dried malt extract. Jesse's going to stir this once we get it added in. And we're going to also add our liquid malt extract to the pot. We have 2 of these. Just going to add these gently and continue to stir till we get both of these containers emptied. All right, it's been about 15 minutes into the boil, and we're going to add 1.5 ounces of the UK Kent Golding hops. So here we go. Just take our lid off, and we're going to slowly add these into our wort. I'm going to come over here and grab my sanitized spoon, give it a little mix. And we're going to let that boil for another 30 minutes before we add the next set of hops. All right, we're 45 minutes into the boil, so we're going to add our second set of hops. It's UK Fugel.
Fugel.
Fugel? Who Fugel knows? We're going to add this to the wort, and then Jesse's going to add some Irish moss for clarity. And then we're going to stir this up like we did last time. And we're going to let this boil for another 10 minutes before we add the honey. All right, so we have about 10 minutes left in our boil, so we're going to drop our wort chiller down inside while it's boiling to get this copper sanitized. And this will help us get the wort chilled down to below, hopefully right around 80 degrees in about 15 minutes. So we're just going to drop this into the boiling wort. See you back in a few minutes. All right, we have about 5 minutes left in the boil. So since we're making the White House Honey Ale, we're going to add the 1 pound of honey to our boiling wort for the last 5 minutes here. I cut the top of the bottle off to make this easier to get out. And now what we're going to do, Jesse has a sanitized measuring cup here. We are going to attempt, careful that's really hot, you might want to get we're going to attempt to melt the rest of this and get it out of here. And there you have it. So we've added the honey. We're going to let this boil for 5 more minutes, and then we'll start our cool down process. All right, we've removed our wort from the flame, and it's now time to cool it down as quickly as possible. So what we have over here, if you look in, we've got our wort chiller in the pot, and we've got it connected over here to a sump pump with a bunch of super cold water. So Jesse's going to plug it in right now, and it should start chilling. And I've got these towels on here just in case we have any small leak. We don't want anything going into the wort. And I can hear it going. If you look down in, you can see the different color of the copper. And so it's now cooling the wort. So I'm going to cover that, and it'll take about 10 or 15 minutes and we'll be back. All right, so we've had our wort chiller running for about 13 minutes, and it dropped it down to, looks like right about 80 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and shut this off, start getting things cleaned up, and we'll let this drop a couple more degrees, and then we'll pitch our yeast. All right, we've got our wort chilled down to, looks like 72 degrees. So we're going to siphon it off into our fermentation bucket. This has been sanitized previously, so we'll keep that in the bucket, and we'll start siphoning the wort so that we can leave all the sediment at the bottom. And once this is completely siphoned off, we'll add water to top it off, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so we've siphoned off our wort into our fermentation bucket, and we got about 2.5 gallons in there, and we're gonna top it off with some top-off water that we pre-boiled last night. It's been sitting in the sanitized bucket, so we're gonna top it off to 5 gallons. All right, so we're gonna aerate now. So we have our oxygen canister, and we've dipped the oxygen stone into sanitizer, and we're gonna go ahead and put some oxygen into this beer. So I've got the sanitized part down in there. I'm gonna turn it on. And there goes the bubbling. We're gonna let this go for about a minute. This is the easiest way to oxygenate your wort. All right, time to pitch our yeast. We're using a pre-activated smash pack. So we've dipped this in sanitizer along with the scissors. We're gonna go ahead and cut this open. Pull the air out. Go ahead. And then we're gonna be careful. We're gonna dump the yeast in and be careful not to let that second package get in there. And there you have it. So we pitched our yeast. We'll go ahead and seal this up and get our blow-off tube set, and we'll get it in the fermenter for about the next month. All right, so we've added our blow-off tubing into some sanitizer water, just so that in case we get any blowback, everything's sanitized. But in theory, those yeast should grow, and we should see bubbling occurring down here in our overflow container. And we'll check it in a couple weeks and move it over to our secondary. All right, so we have a sample of our wort in our beaker, and we have our hydrometer submersed in it, and it's floating. So we're basically going to take our gravity reading. This will be our original gravity that we'll compare towards the end. And it looks like right now we have 1.056. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down, and we'll use that in comparisons later on. All right, so we have our beer in our fermentation chamber, and it's connected up here to the thermostat, which is going to hold this within 1 degree of 66 degrees, which is the ideal temperature for fermentation. And we'll check it in a couple weeks and see how it's doing. All right, so we finished brewing, and we have a bunch of sediment left in the brew pot. So here's what you do with leftover sediment. You basically walk it across the street to your neighbor's house. This is best to do it when he's out of town. And you basically just dump it right in his grass.